Okay, look, I understand this is a really stupid idea, like people have come to check out the video and you're like, hey, don't watch this video now, but sincerely, if you haven't played this game, I think this game is really special, and although I'm gonna do like a spoiler-free section, I would highly suggest still just going into this game as blind as possible. It's only about an hour long, it's free on Steam, go check it out, then come back to this video. Starfetchers is a hyper-stylized action game currently available for free on Steam. You play as Sun Yati, a character down on his luck working a poor job to survive in a cruel, dystopian, hyper-capitalist future world, and I fucking adore it. If I had to pitch you this game in one sentence, I would say it's Hotline Miami, but the villain is capitalism and it has the sense of humour that Undertale had. But anyway, as a result of living in such a rundown area, he is eventually approached by a sword-wielding wannabe crime lord who recognises Sun Yati's crushed spirit at the hands of his circumstance. Without giving too much away, you decide to join zombies also due to circumstance. But my god, the way it happens had me pissing myself laughing. Together, the two of you aim to hack and slash your way through the seedy criminal underbelly of the city and rise to the top. A pretty standard video game story, but the reason I think this game is so special is purely down to its personality. The whole game has a neon-lit, cartoony visual style that is just rough around the edges enough to reflect the gritty world it's centered around. The whole game feels like it's bursting at the seams with a perfect mix of saturated colours and grimy streets. But even beyond the general aesthetic, the way the humour is delivered feels incredibly colourful as well. It verges on being a tiny bit too wacky and also random for me, but because the world is so consistently fucked up, the wackiness becomes a very believable aspect of it. To give an example of the humour, here is how the boss you work for talks to you.
Baby, come on, thank you very much.
Now, you might be thinking that didn't sound all that rude, but I wasn't talking about the text. I mean, literally listen to what he is saying to you.
Thank you very much, baby.
Okay, fuck this guy, but I am a tiny bit jealous of that baller hat. So it should be pretty apparent that I'm a big fan of the general atmosphere, the aesthetic, and the sort of tone of the game. But how does it actually play? Like, what do you do over the course of this game? Well, as previously stated, the both of you aim to climb the criminal world by slashing your way through the ranks, and to do so you will invade gang territory in a side-scrolling manner, slicing up other gangs in intricate and gory ways, all while ninja flipping through the air and swatting bullets away. You use the mouse to direct the path of your sword and the standard movement keys to avoid enemy strikes. The combat is purposefully made to be incredibly lethal as a single hit will kill you. But as you restart instantly, dying never really becomes a frustration, and this combined with the absolutely bumping soundtrack will lead you to feel like you are in some kind of a trance. I will say, for as much as I do enjoy the gameplay, it is a little unpolished at the minute and it doesn't quite feel as tight as the rest of the game. Also, while I'm talking negatives, I will say that the game does have quite a few bugs, however it seems like the devs are committed to fixing these for later episodes, and are very active in their Discord server. I'm going to move on to the spoiler part of this review now, so if you'd like to skip to my final thoughts, please go to the time shown on the screen. Firstly, I want to talk about how well the story is told. This pilot is only about 1 hour long, and in that time we understand why Sun Yati leaves, Zambezi's goals and motivations, the criminal world, the setting, and we even get a little peek into the police. And while it is told in a fairly expository way, it never feels like the game is talking directly at you, because the conversations that take place make sense in the universe. By the end, you have a clear goal, a route, and with enough intrigue to keep it sexy. Starting with Sun Yati, we start the game with him doing the shittest work at an already shit job. The first thing you were tasked to do as him is take out some garbage, followed by slaughtering the pigs in the meat dungeon? No, I'm not kidding, they literally call it the meat dungeon. After coming back and being tasked with taking out the trash yet again, he has a bit of a mental breakdown and is approached by Zambezi. One thing I really like about this engagement is that Zambezi tries to motivate you by illustrating how awful your life is and proclaiming things like you're a machine and you don't even know it. What I like about this is that it feels quite grounded for such an absurd game. A lot of extreme organisations such as ISIS or the alt-right will use similar strategies in recruiting and propaganda, only they usually claim some kind of group are the cause of your disenfranchisement, and often enough turn people into the kinds of machines Zambezi claims you are. Despite turning down Zambezi's offer, you are eventually forced to follow him in the most hilarious way. All of these provide, in my opinion, an incredibly fun setup that still feels somewhat believable. After taking down the first gang, Zambezi explains what is likely to be the progression for the rest of the episodes. He explains that one day in the Grey Zone, a place so deadly and overrun the police don't even attempt to take control back, a guy called Doghead showed up and took out all the competition in the zone, claiming the highest point of the power station, which is a large tower. Furthermore, after doing so, Doghead just stayed put up there, and in wait of his return, gangs started living in the tower, with the most powerful able to climb higher and get closer to Doghead as a demonstration of status. Returning to the humour though, I would like to talk a little more specifically about why it works so well for me. Normally, the way this style of humour works is that something unexpected and hilarious will pop up, and that's it. It doesn't really impact anything, it just sort of happens. To me, this is the humour equivalent of junk food. What Starfetchers does differently is that the absurd setups have a payoff or follow through for a lot of the time. One of my favourite examples of this is that after defeating the first boss or gang leader, he asks you to bury him and all of his 42 men in a single grave. And then, the very next scene is a gorgeous shot of huge graves with the characters proclaiming how long it took to dig such a stupidly large hole. It's just kind of brilliant. Oh, and also, I really wanted to mention this gag actually, because I think it's quite creative.
My name is Ansi. I'm a Generation 1 high-frequency trading android. First of its kind with a computational power of 12 million computations per second.
So, outside the starting area, there's a robot you can talk to, just kind of sitting down. This robot was designed for automation, and over the course of a 4-minute story, he explains how it was put out of work by faster automation. It's a brilliant way to hit the player with some very real-world worries, despite being contained in what is effectively an acid nightmare of a game. It's touching, reflective of the game's themes, and most importantly, incredibly funny. So just to let you know, if you're wondering why my voice has changed like halfway through the video, it's because I've been streaming for the last 3 hours and my throat's kind of shredded, so that's... wait. Oh my god. I genuinely had never noticed that eye in the wall before. That's disgusting. What the hell? That's so strange. Like seriously, could you imagine decorating your master hideout room being like, you know what this place needs? A giant freaky fucking fleshy eye burst through the wall so it's watching my every move. Anyway, I think we're kind of getting off topic. The final thing I wanted to talk about in this section is regarding the bosses. As I stated before, the part I am most cautious about is the gameplay. It's fun and has a great energy about it, but I could see it getting stale if things aren't introduced at a good enough pace. The thing that gives me the most hope are actually the bosses. Currently there are only 2, but the leader of the Suburban Satans and the Prison Warden are both really great boss fights that do something mechanically interesting. But to wrap things up, I wanted to talk quickly a little bit about the world, what I think it's saying, and where it could potentially be headed. So, despite being a hilariously goofy game, I think it's pretty apparent that Starfetchers is trying to raise a couple of interesting points, or at the very least has a point of view to illustrate. Right from the get-go, not only does the game explain the cause of a lot of the problems in the city are due to capitalism, problems such as San Yati's poor mental state, the lack of good policing in the area, and the out-of-work automation machines,
1,000 more computations more than me each second.
but it also reinforces this by having Zambezi specifically say, we need to raise some capital. How many games can you point to that have characters that talk about capital as opposed to just money? Or swag bucks? Sorry, I couldn't help myself. But I hope you can see my point. I think they've very specifically used the word capital here and shown how Zambezi is kind of obsessed or consumed with it. I think this game also makes statements about consumerism in two ways that you could have easily missed. The first being a guy who sits next to a vending machine, talking about how by buying goods from it, the consumer is helping breed these machines, and the second, which I actually thought was very well done, being two people watching a TV and engaged in conversation about two random celebrities despite being literally homeless and living in tents. The game is very clearly trying to show how distracted it perceives these people to be from the real issues in the society in which they exist. Again, I feel like I could talk about the various things the game is trying to say for quite a while, and really you're just better off playing it and experiencing it yourself, so I think I'm just going to leave it here. In conclusion, I think it's safe to say I was beyond impressed with what Svavelsticken have created. Oh god, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But either way, I'm absolutely itching for more. I love the hazy neon aesthetic, I love the characters and overall story setup. I think the team have shown us enough creativity to believe they can deliver moving forwards, and while it feels a little weird scoring the first part of an episodic game, if I had to, I'd probably give it a strong 8. So now all we can do is wait and see what they can do next. Thanks for watching. I've had such a great time with this game and making this video, and I'd really appreciate any feedback you have, positive or negative. It's still a very early video in what I hope becomes a channel that I can eventually become happy with, but if you enjoyed the video, all the usual stuff really helps, especially as I'm slowly trying to build an audience. Also, for those interested, I stream on Twitch over at twitch.tv/Devinreviews, so if you're interested in Soulspawn content, I do that on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays, and I also have a little indie game stream every Friday as well. Once again, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all around.